Recording live in the Lucky Number 7 Lounge, this is Dine, Drink Vegas, the podcast. By and for everybody stuck at home, wishing they were in the land of neon lights and bad decisions. I'm your host, John, also known as the Baller on a Budget, and you have found episode 85, where we're going to bring you a little tasty booze and a lot of Vegas news. But before we can bring you any of that amazing top shelf premium, yet somehow free Las Vegas travel content, we have to make an introduction. Of course, we have to bring in the founder of Dine, Drink Travel and Dine, Drink Vegas. Yes, of course, folks, the high roller, formerly of the High Plains, the leader in the luxury lounge, the Duke of the Dugout, because it is baseball season, the king of comps, the Alabama Slammer, the man who's always waiting for that limo to take him away to his next luxurious Las Vegas or Irish destination. I'm talking about the one and only Bill. Good evening, Bill. How are you?
I am great, John. How are you?
I am doing really good because it is hot today in West Texas. It got up to about 95.
And bless your heart. It was like 78 here.
That must be nice, but it was humid where you are. I will take the dryness. But we have a nice summery drink on deck. So, Bill, how did you feel when I put this one on the run sheet?
I was excited because I anticipated correctly that it would be reasonably simple. And then once I actually saw it, I was intrigued because I was unaware that there was a second citrus that went in a lemon drop.
So, I don't think there is in the shot version, but, people who spent their 20s as I did are mostly familiar with this drink as a shot rather than a cocktail. But let's give it a rundown. As Bill said, this is the lemon drop. Our recipe comes via liquor.com. They say this was invented by Vietnam vet turned saloon owner Norman J. Hobday in the 1970s in San Francisco. This is a daisy variation. That means it's a sour. Here's our ingredients: 2 ounces of vodka, half an ounce of triple sec or the orange spirit you have available, 1 ounce of freshly squeezed lemon juice, 1 ounce of simple syrup. Then you're supposed to put sugar around the rim of your martini glass, coupe glass, Nick and Nora glass. You shake it all in the strainer, strain the ice out into the cocktail glass. And I went ahead and added a lemon peel too. So, Bill, let's start here. What was your vodka and what was your triple sec or orange liqueur?
So my vodka was Belvedere vodka because it's on sale this month at the ABC stores here in Alabama. And I really like it when, the price is reasonable. The lemon juice was, of course, a squeezed lemon, which I wouldn't normally measure, but I wanted to get the proportions right since this is the first time I've made this cocktail. So I measured the lemon to almost exactly an ounce. And as we've talked about, if this is episode 85, we have probably talked about this on 86 of our 85 episodes. You always freshly squeeze your citrus, right?
Yes.
Like if I were to use fake citrus juice, I would lose my membership in the country club, the Episcopal Church, and probably this podcast. Like you use the freshly squeezed citrus juice because it's just better and not that hard, and frankly probably kind of cheaper. The simple syrup was just, I don't know, whatever the regular simple syrup was I bought from the grocery store. I didn't put sugar on the rim because I didn't have the sugar stuff. The only place where I varied from the recipe was I didn't use triple sec. I used Cointreau because I thought I had triple sec. I did not. I had Cointreau. I judged it a perfectly acceptable substitute. And it was. But yeah, I actually just about followed the recipe this time. I did shake it up, and I'm glad the ice was in there because for reasons we'll talk about in a second. I think diluting it just a little bit helped. But what about you, John? Like what vodka and triple sec did you use?
So I used Tito's because I got a new handle of that because Texas, that's why. And I also used Grand Marnier. I will say, I'm not sure if Cointreau and Grand Marnier count as triple secs. There's a difference between carousel and triple sec, and I can't remember which is which. I will say they are interchangeable. So, but I believe Cointreau does count as a triple sec. But I went with Grand Marnier. I used a sugar-free simple syrup, and I rimmed my glass with Splenda on account of the Beatus. So, Bill, what do you think of this cocktail now that we've had a chance to sip on it?
So I like it very much. I think I would have enjoyed it more if the weather here was like the weather where you are, but the weather in my town is just usually better than the weather in your town.
Yeah.
There are a couple of months in the summer where you and I are embracing different kinds of suck. But for the other 10 months a year, the weather here is just better. And because it was a pleasant, cool, rainy day, the lemon drop didn't feel like the right drink. The other thing that I noticed is that it's sweeter than I personally would have enjoyed. Now I used regular simple syrup, right? But I think I would have cut the amount of simple syrup in half. I would have used it, but I would have cut it in half. And I might have considered increasing from a half ounce of the Cointreau to 3/4 of an ounce or maybe a full ounce. I'm enjoying the orange notes in this drink, and I would have liked for there to be more of them. Would you have made any other modifications, John?
Well, I think if I wanted something lemon forward, I would make exactly this because the lemon flavor comes through. I might have cut back on the sweetness just a little bit. Like you, I prefer mine a little more puckery. But I don't think I would have made any other changes because I think by the time I add more orange flavor, then I'm going to realize, well, it's almost a margarita. So why am I using vodka? And then I'd grab the tequila. If I subbed out the lemons for limes, I would think, well, I'm almost to a daiquiri or a margarita. So I might as well grab either rum or tequila. I think you start straying into its sister cocktails pretty quickly with variations. I would say this is a great candidate for batch cocktails. If you've got a party coming up and you've got one of those 1 gallon plastic tea dispensers that everybody in the South has with a little spigot on the bottom, you could make up a whole mess of this and serve that to your guests. This would be really easy in the summer. It's basically adult lemonade. I wouldn't change it because I think by the time I changed it, I'd be into a different drink.
Hmm. So I would be, but listeners, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but me and John's normal process is after we wrap one of these episodes, we then stop the recording because, that's safer for our continued marriages and employment. And we talk for a while, we'll make a second drink. And I think what I'm going to do for our post production cocktail today, John, is make this, but make it with equal. I'm amping up the triple sec without cutting the lemon juice. I want more of an even balance of the orange and the lemon, and I'll let you know how that works out.
Okay, I look forward to that. I think at that point it stops being a lemon drop and starts being a Five Alive. You remember Five Alive from the '80s? Am I the only one that remembers that juice that was
Oh,
like,
I had forgotten
yeah,
it, but yeah, because we bought whatever cheap stuff they had at the Piggly Wiggly, and that was it.
yeah. So I will say I look forward to see what you think. At that point, it's a different drink, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to have another variant of the Daisy. That's two in the last 6 weeks. We did the Gimlet not that long ago. Bill, why don't we jump into some news?
I think that is an outstanding story. Would you like to start?
Sure. Vital Vegas shared that the hiatus of Bob Marley Hope Road show at Mandalay, which began in January, has gone from a hiatus to a permanent closure. So I guess no woman, no cry. Bill, would you like to have seen this show, or is this one that you're glad you missed?
Neither of those. I don't care enough to have wanted to have gone or to have been glad to have missed it. Like it just wasn't something on my radar. I am curious about how often Vegas things go on hiatus and ever come back. That just screams to me people who haven't accepted the reality that whatever the thing is in fact over.
Well, that always seems to be Scott's take. Anytime there's a hiatus, he says it's not a hiatus, it'll be gone. I had seen a report last week saying it was going to be back in June. I'll be honest, Bill. My wife and I have a trip coming up in late June, early July. I was actually hoping the show would come back. I think I would have bought tickets for that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, like I don't have an objection to it. I can absolutely see how it would have made a lot of people happy. I just wasn't one of those guys. I again, not out of objection. I just didn't care. Also, in my employment, I get drug tested on a fairly regular basis, and I could see going to anything Bob Marley themed causing me very real professional problems.
I suppose that is an issue, but yeah, yeah. I guess that's a be careful where you go scenario. Well, Bill, what else did Scott have to say?
So longtime listeners, and first, thank you so much for being our longtime listener. But longtime listeners won't be shocked to know that we have a second story from Scott at Vital Vegas, although mostly a non-Scott themed episode tonight. Scott also called out an older couple who won $10 million on a $5 spin at Mandalay Bay and didn't tip the staff a single dollar. And folks, if we're going to talk in a second about whether you should tip, what's an appropriate tip. Just accept this reality, though. If you win big and don't tip, Twitter is gonna find out. So, John, you and I were talking about this pre-production. What is your take? If you win $10 million on the slots, what is an appropriate tip for the person who brings you the check?
So I was thinking about this, and I wasn't very clear in our pre-show conversation. I think on a $10 million jackpot like that, where basically I'm not gonna have to worry about money the rest of my life unless I'm stupid with it. I would be pretty tempted, especially because I'm a low roller. I don't gamble very much, so it's not like I lost a few grand to get that 10 mil because that's not what I do. I'm probably giving a $10,000 tip, although I'm telling that host to share it with everybody on duty. Like I'm tipping the workers at that point. I could see even 1,000 being acceptable. I did see numbers as high as 30 grand. I don't think so.
Yeah, well, so for one thing, you've got a very real problem with those five-figure tips of they're not bringing you $10 million in cash. They're writing you a check, right?
Yeah.
Which means you can, nobody's ATM is going to let you dispense $10,000. I guess you could take it over to the cashier's case, whatever. Like you've got a real problem. And so I've never won a jackpot anything like that. I think the most I've ever won is $2,000. But the two hand pays I've gotten, they've been kind of slow, disinterested, and all that. And a tip is for somebody who's helped make my day better than they had to, right? So, you know what? I would tip something because I wouldn't want to wind up on Twitter. I'm probably a lot closer to like $1,000, maybe just a few hundred, depending on how quickly they helped me get out the door.
Well, and I get that. Like if staff is unpleasant, oh, I got to deal with this hand pay. And I think with the lower threshold hand pays, I don't know. I've never been lucky enough to hit one, but I could see staff being like, ugh, this is not worth my time. And if you're getting that kind of service, yeah, I could see that. But if I just got life changing, like I never have to work again if I don't want a money, I probably overtip compared to the way you see it. Some people would still say I'm being cheap, but at that point, I got 10 mil, kiss my butt.
No, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know if you follow Chris Holmes on Twitter or if our listeners do, but you should. At Chris Holmes shared a picture of the renovated lobby bar at the Flamingo, and it looks. Bill, I think this looks pretty nice. Does this look like a spot that you could have a few drinks and play a little video poker or some slots?
So in isolation, sure, because the bar looks fantastic. The problem is that it's still in the Flamingo, and you've got to watch Maud from Boise walk strolling through in her thong that is not appropriate for her to wear. I'm still angry at the Flamingo for the trip I made probably 4 years ago now, where there were dudes strolling through the wet areas of the sauna on their phones with, everything at full volume and cameras running. Like, I just hate the property so much that, sure, that bar looks great. It would take something pretty specific to get me go back in the hotel.
Your experience has me where I don't see myself ever staying at the Flamingo, and I am not a spa person. But occasionally, when I'm making my way through the strip, I tend to go to Vegas every summer. And I don't know if people realize this. It's hot in Vegas in the summer. So when I want to walk somewhere, I walk through as many air conditioned casinos as I can. Sometimes I get thirsty along the way. This looks like a nice spot to put a $20 bill on a video poker machine, get an ice cold beer, and see what happens. I think
Sure.
I'm down for this.
No, I would give it a shot. Well, in other news, Vegas publicity covered Mayor Sherry Berkeley giving magician Matt Franco the key to the city at the annual Best of Show fundraiser on April 26th. Um, so I guess my question, John, is who is Matt Franco and why was he important enough for the mayor to give him a key to the city?
So he's been running a magic show in Vegas for a while. I think he won some contest, might have been America's Got Talent, something else, but he's been doing magic shows there for as long as I've been going to Vegas. I see his ads all the time on social media or on posters when I'm walking around Vegas. I know you're not the world's biggest show person in Vegas, so I think you kind of ignore the advertising. I don't know if he's any good or not. I haven't seen the show, but I did think it was interesting that, just a few weeks after Bruno Mars getting a street named after him, they're giving him the key to the city. I think Vegas wants to remind people that they are the entertainment capital of America.
And I think that is fair and legitimate, and that is absolutely, yeah. I mean, that is absolutely something I think Vegas ought to be able to lay claim to.
Well, speaking of entertainers, Las Vegas Sun says that Old Dominion will take the stage at Planet Hollywood. Excuse me, on Friday, September 4th and Saturday, September 5th, giving Labor Day weekend travelers a chance to catch a little country music. Bill, you listen to more modern country than I do. Is Old Dominion one of the acts you'd like to catch live?
Uh, in particular, no. But yeah, I would probably go to this concert. For one thing, the hey Rachel, if you're listening to this, please close your ears because reasons. For one thing, I would want to go there because the women who show up to country music concerts tend to look exceptional in the pair of blue jeans that they are almost certainly wearing to that concert. Um, and the visual aesthetics of the concert wouldn't be terrible. I think I would enjoy the beer and the atmosphere. So is it a top priority? No. But yeah, I think that's a thing I would do. How about you, John?
Yeah, I really don't know the band's catalog. I do like country music. It's just most of what's called country doesn't meet my definition these days. But if we used to do the guys trip every day Labor Day weekend. I don't think either of us can do that this year. But if we were there that weekend and the tickets weren't an obscene amount of money, I'd go. I get a feeling Zero would go with us.
Zero would drag us along and then have a sufficient amount of fireball that he didn't remember he had attended.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then Mike would probably drag us to X country afterward because you saw the band, now see the girls. That's probably
Uh,
how that goes.
as long as Derek gets paddled at some point during the trip.
Oh, that's fair enough.
In other news, which is about a whole different kind of show, the Las Vegas Review Journal reported this week that the Las Vegas A's stadium on the former Tropicana site is hitting major construction milestones, and pictures show steel beams rising what appears to be several levels. So, listeners, thank you so much to those of you who've stuck with us as John and I have attempted to build this podcast and grow an audience. You've heard us talk about this before, and we have extraordinary respect for the work that Scott at Vital Vegas does. He's got sources we can't possibly have. Um, and I think this story, I'm becoming even firmer, becomes the one time where I've just flat out disagreed with Scott. I think this baseball team is happening. I think that Major League Baseball has made the commitment that no, we're gonna have baseball at this site in Las Vegas in 2028 or sometime very close to that. John, are you reading this any other way?
No, I completely agree with you 100%. Now, I do think Bally's desire to build a casino around the ballpark is in trouble. Bally's is broke.
Right.
And so I wonder what else will be developed on that piece of land. But I can't imagine a scenario now. And I know Scott's going to say the owner of the team is $1 billion short. But Major League Baseball cannot take the black eye of having this fail. The league will make this happen. And if that guy wants to stay the sole owner or even the main owner, he's going to have to find the money or they're going to kick in that best interest of baseball clause and either make him take on a partner or push him out altogether. I think the league needs this to happen. Scott's
I
right about the ownership, but the league needs this to happen.
Well, the other people that I think have a vested interest in this happening at this site is MGM, which doesn't
Yes.
control any part of the actual team or that location, but controls most of the surrounding hotels. And if I'm the Luxor, the New York, or the MGM Grand, or even hotels that are one or two hotels removed, almost all of which are MGM properties, I absolutely want this because for 81 home dates a year and sometimes a night or two after, I'll be sold out because I'm a convenient walk to the baseball stadium.
To the point that if I were MGM, and we have no inside knowledge, we are not Vegas insiders. We are two fat guys who like talking about Vegas. We have zero knowledge. So I am not starting a rumor. This is just me playing God of MGM for a day. But if it were me and I were MGM Properties, I would remember that I still own the name Mirage. And I would build me a little casino. I would buy that property out from Bally's and build me a casino and resort there. Call it the new Mirage, put up a little volcano, and let the good times roll. I think that Bally's is never going to be able to afford to build there, but MGM's got the money. And I'm hoping MGM will go into that spot and make this happen.
I will gamble in that casino. That is absolutely a thing I would do.
All right, I've lost track of where we are. Whose turn is it?
I do believe it is your turn
Why did I give myself the long one when I know I got dyslexia? All right. The
because you've
Athletic.
never had a long one before, John, and it was
That's
your
what
turn.
she said. All right. The Athletic and other outlets reported that last week that Las Vegas was the most likely destination for the troubled major leagues. I see why you gave me the story. My dyslexia made a mess of this.
And
The
you
Las
wrote it.
Vegas. I know Las Vegas is the most likely destination for the troubled Major League Soccer franchise, the Vancouver Whitecaps. However, both the team and the mayor of Vancouver have denied these rumors. So we have other owners at a league meeting saying we're not losing that franchise, so we're going to move them. We have the team ownership saying we're not bowing out of ownership, and the mayor of Vancouver saying that we're not moving. Now, if the team does come to Vegas, we'll update in a future episode. But Bill, this raises the question: if Vegas gets Major League Soccer, we've talked about sports in Vegas on this podcast before. Any interest in catching a game?
Less than baseball or football, but sure, I go watch a football match. I think it could be kind of fun. I'm betting they've got good beer in the stadium. So, is it a top priority? No, but I'd rather do that than say go to the Bob Marley tribute concert.
Here's my problem. I don't know enough about soccer to intelligently bet on the game, so I don't want to go in Vegas.
So I would just bet on whatever offered the longest odds and the biggest payout, and I would have some Modelo to console me when I that betting strategy inevitably failed. Or alternatively, I would win, in which case I buy Modelo for the entire group.
Do you think they sell Mexican beers in soccer stadiums?
I am going to take a stab at this and say it is not the least likely thing in Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm also going to report that according to Yahoo Finance, Caesars Entertainment had a quote solid end quote first quarter of 2026 with consolidated net revenues of 2.9 billion US dollars, which is up 3%. This growth was premised on convention business in Las Vegas as well as regional gaming efforts outside Las Vegas. So folks, that is the news. Now let me provide the editorial comment on it. It's important to be clear which is which. So John and I have talked before about the changing structure of Vegas revenues. And on several previous episodes, we've talked about the fact that the city of Vegas itself is increasingly relying on high rollers rather than mass traffic. What this story tells us is that, well, there's actually a third element. There's convention traffic, which is holding up quite well, even if conventional middle class travelers aren't. One of the other things which I note here is that a lot of the Caesars revenue is coming from places outside Las Vegas. So, John, what do you make of this story?
Well, I want to piggyback on what you said, and then we'll circle back. The Review Journal shared that company-wide Boyd Gaming was up at quarter one, but their Vegas properties were down. So, two things. You pointed out in covering Caesars that Caesars is going after the convention traveler and the high roller. Well, Boyd doesn't get either of those. You know, you're talking about the Cal and Main Street and the Fremont. You're talking about low roller properties, places I'm not too good to stay at, mind you. I would stay at them. I have thought about staying in Boyd properties before, but their growth is also outside of Las Vegas, and their audience is squarely the middle class traveler. So I think we're seeing that even though they're still making money in Vegas, Vegas is not dead. Please do not add us to the list of people saying Vegas is dead. But Vegas is not drawing certain demographics, including us ballers on a budget, at the percentages that it used to. I think we're seeing people choosing to gamble at casinos closer to home and skip the Vegas experience. And I do think that pricing for whales is keeping us minnows out of the pond.
So, I make pretty good money. My wife makes pretty good money. It's got to take now when I want to go on a Vegas like trip, given that I live in Alabama. Of course, I'd rather go to Vegas, but Biloxi is so close to here. And is it Vegas? No. Can you have two or three cocktails and pretend that it's Vegas? Yes, absolutely. And it's cheaper to get to. The hotels are less expensive. The food is less expensive. And if you want a nice steak and maybe some seafood that was swimming earlier that day, along with all the vodka that God ever made, they are absolutely happy to help you. So yeah, and my story I think is being repeated by millions of Americans who are like, there's this other Vegas-like place, which is fairly close to home, wherever home is for them.
Yeah, and the data bears that out. I will say that I'm still a Vegas firster, and you can Vegas on a budget. I do have that trip coming up in June. The closer we get, I will preview things. I'll also give a report afterward. I want to say that my wife and I are going to Vegas. We are going to spend no more than $60 on our hotel room at the Aria for 3 nights. Our plane tickets cost us $28 out of pocket. There are ways to do Vegas on a budget. I will share all my baller on a budget tricks as we get closer to that trip. But I will say this, I have to work a lot harder to make Vegas work for me compared to 8 years ago.
That is absolutely true. And when I'm planning a vacation, there aren't a lot of times when I want to work that hard.
That's true. Before we move off of this and go to the next story, Bill, I do want to circle back because Caesars came up. Do you think Caesars posting this growth does anything to attract Tillman Fertitta to finish his buyout of the company or at least parts thereof?
So, I don't know how involved Ambassador Fertitta is in his work representing the United States in Italy, but my best guess is that the man has a day job serving the United States, which ties up a lot of his day-to-day efforts. And because he is personally connected to the president, is actually probably the point person on whatever, diplomatic conversations our government has with the Italians. So my guess is that the man is busy, and that the notion of actually buying property in Las Vegas is going to be going to be a second priority. But my guess is he also has people to handle stuff like this who
Yes.
are absolutely passing that on to him.
I just think it'd be fun to see a Landry's in the forums at Caesars. I just think
Yeah.
let's get some
Also,
Texas up in there.
I apologize to you. I apologize to our listeners, and I apologize to the entire state of Texas for on episode 84 when I confused Landry's and Pappas. Now, in my defense, there are giant restaurant chains in Houston that serve, let's face it, fairly similar menus. But as a sixth generation Texan, parent of seventh generation Texans, I should have known better. And I will confess that in church every Sunday until I die.
I think we could forgive you confusing the Greek billionaires with the Italian billionaires. It's okay, Bill.
Well,
It's all right. It's okay.
in other news from the Las Vegas Review Journal, oh my goodness, John, do you know what I just realized?
What?
We have quoted the Las Vegas Review Journal in this episode more often than we have quoted Scott from Vital Vegas.
Oh, Scott won't be happy. Although I did check, these are two stories from the RJ. They did not steal from Scott because normally they steal from Scott. They wait till it's verified and then they don't give him credit. These two, they stole from somebody who's not Scott.
You know what? Fantastic. And what they say in their Neon blog is that Hawaiian food court operator Sticks, which refers to Chopsticks and not the rock band who gave us Renegade and Mr. Roboto, which is a great song, and I'm not going to let myself rabbit hole down there. But Sticks is going to build a mainland location at the Uncommon Shopping Center in Southwest Las Vegas, which will bring roughly a dozen affordable Asian options under one roof. And John, the only thing I'm upset about is that this is in Southwest Vegas. I would really like to be this someplace I could walk to because I would 100% go to that food court. That would be fantastic. I might take an Uber and go there anyway.
So I think going back to our last story about making Vegas affordable, one of the things to remember if you're traveling to Vegas is that look, even when my first Vegas trip was what about a decade ago now?
Yeah, something.
E- Even a decade ago, all the really good dining was on the strip and a couple of places downtown in the tourist areas. And the rest of Vegas was like every other American suburb and urban market. You had your Chili's, your Applebee's, all the same chains you got at home. That has changed in the last decade. And Vegas has become America's best culinary city. I said what I said.
I don't
And
dispute
here's,
what you said.
yeah, and here's the thing. If you're trying to save a few bucks, that $20 round trip in Uber fare, if you're with one dining companion and you want high end, will save you $100 to $200, even if you want, say, a French tasting menu, because Partage is way cheaper than Le Cirque or Joël
And still open.
Rochebon or whatever else. Yeah. But when it comes to something like this, that Uber still, if you're a group of 3 to 4, you will still save money to get off the strip in that Uber and go hit up places like this. And you're going to get incredible food at a price that doesn't make you hate your wallet.
I think that is a great choice. Well, John, what else do we have?
Sahara has announced the opening of Maroon, a Caribbean themed steakhouse by Chef Kwame Onwachi, chef, forgive me if I mispronounced that name. It goes in the space vacated by Jose Andres's lauded Bizarre Meat that has since moved over to the Venetian Palazzo. In addition to traditional steakhouse dishes, they offer items such as fried rice and peas with braised oxtail, ooh, curry spiced shrimp, ooh, I hadn't read this before I got here, and brown stewed chicken, as well as jerk chicken and sides such as creamed coconut, collards. Bill, I gotta eat here.
You do have to eat there because it sounds fantastic. Now, to be clear, and this is my fault because I wrote this and my use of the English language failed me. So, what I'm going to reread something you said to make clear this is all one dish. The one dish was fried rice and peas, which also had braised oxtail and had curried spiced shrimp and had brown stew chicken in it.
That's one dish.
That is one dish. And like I didn't know how to like splice my semicolons, but that is one dish. Now to be clear, if what you want is a traditional like steak, they've got that, right? Like they are delighted to serve you that. My guess is it's very good. Um I went to Bazaar Meats and I've got a video of it on the Dine Drink Vegas YouTube channel, which I guess I should probably pull down. But I was sitting at the bar. I asked the bartender, who was phenomenal, how often is Chef Andres actually, when Chef Andres comes, how often or how long does he stay? To which he said, quote, oh, he stays all night. So Chef Andres was there like once a year for a night. The restaurant was fine. It was not his. Whatever. I am much more interested in this place because I think the new chef might actually inhabit it, and I kind of want to see the work the man does.
I got to say that the menu items here, this connection of African, Caribbean, and American Southern dishes, this has me. And yeah, like you said, I'm sure they make a good steak. I'm not ordering the steak. I'm
Uh,
way off into the other parts of this menu.
so you might. You want? I'm looking at their menu. You know why you might order their steak, John?
Okay.
So they have four cuts, and they're all from the Rosewood Ranch in Texas, but they are rum aged steaks. They
Okay, I'm
age their
ordering a
steaks
steak.
in. Yeah. See,
Oh.
you may just have to go there twice, or alternatively go and let the diabetes take you, cause it would be worth it.
Yeah, after we get done recording, I'm going to see if they have a happy hour because that is my way to do places I can't afford is to hit up their happy hour.
I mean, the banana leaf snapper doesn't look terrible.
All right, I'm going to the next story just because I'm about to have a food gasm. All right, food and loathing covered changes with the EDO dining group, including the opening of French Bistro Brasseria by EDO, located off strip but near the Sphere, so just a little off the strip. The new spot aims to offer refined and well executed French and American comfort foods at a price that won't leave you sad. Bill, I know you really enjoyed the French tasting menu. This is not that, but any interest in a place that has some of those elements at a more approachable price point?
Absolutely. So we've talked about how heartbroken I am that I will never go back to Le Cirque because I won't get back to town before it closes in August. But I hadn't been there for a couple years because they had priced themselves out of my range, right? Like I couldn't be a responsible member of my family and go there. So things which scratch parts of that itch are now very much what I want to try. And yeah, I would give this a shot. I'm also thinking about when we take my oldest child, Edwin, to Vegas, presumably about a year from now. And son, if you are listening to this, um, Mr. John and I are going to overdo this. Um, you're welcome. Just go along for the ride. There's
Yes,
going to be a French meal somewhere. We will help you
yes,
make excellent choices.
yes,
Yes.
yes. You will have a good time. We
Uh,
got you. We got you, kiddo. We got you.
So, listeners, one of our favorite segments for both John and I on the show is the Vegas WTF story, the Vegas What the Fire story, because of something which is just weird. And this story comes from Formula One, specifically from the Formula One website, where they report they have started a program called Trees for Overtakes, in which they are planting 222 trees in Kellogg Czar Sports Complex. Apparently, this is part of an attempt to be seen as environmentally sensitive by Formula One, a group which is famous for having environmentally sensitive fans watching race cars get gallons to the mile. John, why are they bothering? Like, who do they think they're fooling?
I don't know. And Bill, I am not the Lorax. I don't speak for the trees. I am not the world's biggest hippie or tree hugger. I don't have a problem with people that are environmentally minded. I suppose we all should be. So, organizations that really do try to balance their carbon footprint or leave the world better than they found it, yeah, I'm good with that. But as you pointed out, this is virtue signaling of the highest degree. There is not an amount of trees they could put up to undo the damage they cause as an organization. And it's one of those things. It's like somebody mugging you in the alley and then throwing you back five of your own dollars for cab fare. Like, why?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that there actually is one overwhelmingly large environmental issue in Las Vegas, and that's how much water they don't have. And if you planted 222 trees, those trees are going to require water
Water.
that the city of Las Vegas doesn't have. And it's not like God has seen fit to send rain to Las Vegas all that very often. Um, yeah, this is some wicked virtue signaling, man.
Yeah, and I mean it when you bring up the water issue, I was playing this isn't on the run sheet, but I was playing around on a story USA Today did about shifts in weather patterns since 1956. The Colorado River Basin has approximately uh, a month less winter every year than it did a generation ago. And without winter, you're not getting snow. Now, you may think, well, if they get the same amount of precipitation, what difference does it make if it's rain or snow? Well, a sudden flash flood of rain will wash everywhere but to the reservoirs. But snow melts slow and winds up where you need it to be. And the loss of 28 days of potential snowfall has a huge impact on the Colorado River Basin, which is an issue. And I would point out that F1's activities may or may not be making that worse depending on what theory as to what's causing shifts in the climate that any individual listener may subscribe to. We are not a political podcast, so please don't at me one way or the other. But I will point out, yeah, if they wanted to do something for the environment around Las Vegas, doing something to promote water conservation would be a lot more valuable than planting friggin' trees in the desert.
Indeed. Well, John, is that all the news we've got for this episode?
Before I go on a rant, yes, Bill, it is. We're so glad you took the time to listen to us. If oh wait, I'm supposed to do no that I'm doing it the right order. I'm a little confused, Bill. If you enjoyed what we're doing, please share our podcast, like, subscribe, post it up on your social media, give it to that friend planning a trip to Vegas or that enemy who hates listening to old fat white guys talk and drink and talk and drink. And Bill, in addition to our podcast, why don't you tell the listeners where else they can find our content? Because I have messed the end of this episode up severely.
You mess the end up all the time, John. You can also find us on YouTube at Dine Drink Vegas, where I bring you short and focused videos to help you plan your next trip to Vegas. Things like 5 or 10 minutes of a particular hotel room or a particular restaurant, particularly the ones which piss me off, so you'll know not to go there. You can increasingly find our content on YouTube at Dine Drink Travel, where I talk about some of my trips to Vegas, some of the luxury hotel stays, the airport lounges, and things like my trips to Ireland and the cruises I have taken, including the ones with John's family. You can find me on essentially every social media platform at Dine Drink Travel, but the most significant one of those is X, because that's where you can find John.
Which is at Dine Drink John, where I'm happy to talk to you about coffee, adult beverages, barbecue, my beloved Dallas Cowboys, who had a really good NFL draft. We got Caleb Downs, suck it Eagles, suck it Giants, suck it Commanders. And yeah, that's all I have to say, because I've already ruined what's supposed to be the end of the episode. So we are going to say thanks for listening and happy travels. Dear God, I got to record the ending before I start drinking next time.
Yeah, we also, and I realize we're now past the production music. We forgot to mention the whole Fernando Mendoza thing. So listeners, Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, he's a Raider.
All right, I'm going to go get more drinks. Bye.
Yay, drinks. Are we still recording?